Hello and welcome to WyTime 2.0. My name is Alan Nuss and I'll be guiding you through the brand new WyTime 2.0 system. This is our brand new Chronos timekeeping system. We've made a few adjustments. This is a Java-free system. I know a bunch of you wanted that. So these are all the new and improved features along with some of the features that you may be familiar with from the old system. So let's go ahead and get started. At this time, you should have your manual out for the employee training, and we should be on page 3. On page 3, it talks about signing in to WyTime. So you'll go ahead and you'll go to the website, and then you'll put in your username and password. You'll select the little square with the blue triangle and log in. Once you do that, your home page will appear. And you'll notice right away, you see your time card for the current pay period, your leave accruals on the right, and over here on the right, these are all the other functions that you will use in the WyTime 2.0 system. So the very first page talks about logging in. So you have to be able to punch in and punch out. Just like we did in the last system, you're going to select punch in. The difference now is that you'll notice there's 4 buttons. These 4 buttons actually drive the punch to the location that you want. So when you select punch in, it's only going to select punch in. If you select punch in when you go home, you're going to see a punch in instead of a punch out. And I will show you this later on in the demonstration when I show you how to fix missing punches. So on page 4, you see that it opened up a new tab. You have extra buttons. And then on page 5, it says to go ahead and select the sign out. So once you've punched in or done whatever you need to do, you select sign out to leave the system, and it brings you right back here to the login page. On page 6, it talks about requesting time off. Of course, we all have time that we've accrued, and we'd like to use it. So we need to know how to put that in the system to make sure that it's recorded. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And on page 6, it says over here on the right-hand side to select My Requests. Once you go ahead and select My Requests, you'll see a tab appear again. You'll see My Information's there, and the My Request tab is now open. Then on step 4 on page 6, it says to select Request Time Off. So once you select Request Time Off, it opens up a pop-up window, which you'll see on page 7. And then it talks about selecting the type of leave that you want. Most time you're going to request vacation leave or sick leave. You know, we get admin leave most years for the day after Thanksgiving, things like that. So any type of leave that you'll need to use is listed right here in the drop-down. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you the sick time, and I want you to notice that the window changes from the vacation request. Now going ahead and entering a vacation request, say we want to take off next week. We can use the calendar and we can say I need to take off February 6th through February 10th. What time do we want our time to start? 8 a.m. And then length is how much time you want per day. So this is not 40 hours, this is actually 8, and then we're going to let Chronos do the math on this. So go ahead, once you have your information filled out, you select Submit. Then your supervisor will receive an email. If they approve your leave, they'll go ahead and select Approve, and then you'll see it on the next week. We can use these date selections here to view whether we've actually put something in. You can see that we have put something in, but it has not been approved. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to select back here so we can see the current week. You can also use this calendar tool to select a specific date range to ensure that you're seeing which days you want to see. So on page 9, it talks about requesting comp leave versus overtime pay. So this is just making a choice. If you worked overtime and you want to not get paid for it, but you'd rather receive that in comp time, this is how you're going to do that. So you're going to make a comp time choice. So on page 9, it talks about, once again, going right back to my request. You'll notice over here on the right now, my request is grayed out because it's already open. So we select my requests as the tab, and that will get us to the image on the bottom of page 9. We're going to once again select request time off. We're going to scroll down to the WDH monthly overtime comp time choice. This only needs to be done once, so we're going to say on February 1st, the start time is 8 a.m. and the length is 1. Any length over or more than 0 will get you to selecting comp time instead of taking overtime pay. If you want to get paid for your overtime, technically you don't have to do anything. If you want to mark your time card showing that you'd like to get paid for your overtime, you can put a 0 in the length, and that will that will show everybody that you're going to get paid for your overtime. Or if you don't do anything, you'll get paid overtime instead of receiving comp time. So we can go ahead and we'll put a 1 in this, click submit. This does not need an approval. It goes instantly. You can see that there's a green bar here and there's a check mark. Moving on to page 11, it says requesting overtime authorization. So what this is actually asking your supervisor if you can work overtime. So on page 11, it once again talks about going into the my requests over here on the right. Ours is already open, so it's grayed out. I selected the tab. We're going to select request time off. We're going to select the drop down, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the WDH overtime approval request. We are once again going to say, when do we expect to work overtime? I'm going to say February 3rd. It's going to start at 12 o'clock, and I expect about 4 hours is what I'm going to need for overtime, something like that. You'll know you worked 40 hours by X time on Friday, or maybe you worked 40 hours by Thursday, and then you need a few more hours to finish up a required task. You can go ahead and select submit. Once again, this sends an email to your supervisor asking for permission for the overtime. Now, I still recommend, even though it's all automated, that you go speak to your supervisor, you send an additional email, you do something to let them know that you need to work overtime and that it's a required project and that you have approval, because anytime that you work overtime, it needs to have prior authorization. So the next thing on page 13 is talking about retracting or canceling leave. So once again, on the My Information screen, this is where we start. It talks about going over here to the My Requests, where it opens up a new tab. Go ahead and select a new tab. And then you would go ahead and you would use the current pay period, previous pay period. You can use the calendar to select what day you need to go look at, so you can find your leave request and cancel it or retract it, whatever you need to do. So we'll go ahead and on page 14, it talks about hovering over the leave request, and you'll see this little blue circle with the triangle in it. You select that, you see cancel there. Once you select cancel, another pop-up window will appear. Once you select submit, your supervisor will receive an email requesting that they approve your cancellation request. If your leave request has not been approved yet, just like our overtime request here hasn't been, if you select the blue button, you'll see retract. Well, retract is the same thing as cancel. The difference between cancel and retract is cancel has already been approved. You can see the big green box here. And retract, the supervisor hasn't done anything with it. So once again, you select retract. You'll see the pop-up window. You select submit. And now you can see the little X with the underscore. That means that the retract happened instantly, because there's no need for the supervisor to approve it, because they haven't approved the first request. They don't need to approve your cancellation request. So it's just a retraction. And that leaves off your time card. So on page 16, there's a new function. Talks about fixing a missing punch. Yes, in WyTime 2.0, employees do have the ability to fix their own punches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this tab. And we're right back here on the screen shown on page 16. It says select fix missing punch over here on the right. We're going to select fix missing punch. It takes us to another new tab. You can see once again we have my information. We have fix missing punch tab. We're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll down through here, and we can see that our employee has a few missing punches. Now, it's pretty important to actually take a look and figure out what's going on. You can see on Tuesday, the 24th, we had an 8 a.m. in punch, and then we have another in punch at 4:04 p.m. Now, you actually have to ask yourself, is that right? Didn't you just go home at 4? It looks like you've been going home at 4 for a few days. So this is what happened is when you punched out for the day, you selected the punch in button, and that put a punch in instead of a punch out. Now you can't fix this one. So what you need to do is you need to go talk to your supervisor and get that one fixed, because they'll have to delete the in punch and put it in the out punch spot to make sure that Kronos can calculate your time. But we can see on the 25th, there is an 8 a.m. punch, and then there's no out punch. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and select the red box. It'll bring us to the top, and you'll notice the fix missing punch button is up here. The fix missing punch button is on page 17. We're going to go ahead and select that. A little pop-up is going to open up. We're going to say, I know I punched in, I didn't punch out, so we're going to say 4 p.m. on the out punch. We'll select submit. Then you'll notice up here at the top, you'll see that the time card is not totalized. Please wait or press refresh. And then you'll also see a green bar that says punch is submitted. So we'll go ahead and we'll go down here and we'll say, yep, it's not there. So we'll select refresh, go down here, and now you can see that punch was added. Now, when you do this, your supervisor will receive an email telling them that you fixed a punch. They don't have to approve it. It's a great deal. If they had to approve it, they should just come in here and put it in for you. So with them not having to approve it, they just receive an email telling them that you did this. Now, if this is a constant problem, I'm sure your supervisor is going to come talk to you. It's very important that you punch in and punch out accurately as you go home and come for the day. If you want to see it on your other time card, you can go over here to My Information. We'll select the previous pay period because that was, of course, on the previous pay period. We'll scroll down here to the 25th, and we'll see 8 a.m. and there's a 4 p.m. That you just put in. Now, if that's not there, there's a refresh button right here. Select the refresh button. The time card will refresh. You scroll down again. You make sure that the punch you put in actually shows up, and everything's good. The next new feature on page 18 is entering an activity. What activities is basically a time study. So if only employees that work on multiple jobs with multiple budget streams have to do this. So if you work on one job and you know that you're paid by one budget stream, you never have to do this. You have a default job, you're good to go. If you're questioning whether you should be doing this or not, please speak with your manager, your fiscal manager, and they'll give you guidance, and we'll all figure it out together and make sure that you're getting done what needs to be done. Because this will actually drive a budget stream into the payroll system to make sure that you're being paid out of the correct budget for the time that you're working. So once again, I'm going to close this extra tab up here. And on page 18, it says go over here to activities. Go ahead and select activities. There's only one form. We're going to select WDH4. On page 19, it shows you this screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, what day did I work on what project? So I'm going to say, well, I worked on today, and I worked on my division. You can select the little blue arrow, and I can say I worked on whichever division you're in. we're going to pick on aging today. We're going to select OK. The job, what job did I do for aging? So we're going to go down there and we're going to pick, you know, we did contract for aging for the first 4 hours today. And if you'd like, you can put in a contract or a comment, and you can say, work on specific contract today for the morning. Whatever you want to put in there, you can type it in there. Once you have your information in there, you select the Save button. You'll see this screen. It said it recorded the activity. And now if you view your time card, once again, we'll go back over here to My Information. We're going to select the current pay period because today is a current pay period. And you'll see right there that it put in, see, I messed it up. I put in 4 minutes. I wasn't paying attention. So I could go in and I could put in another activity, or I could contact my supervisor and have it corrected. I think in this situation, I'm going to have my supervisor correct this one for me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my activities tab. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to go on to page 20, where it talks about reviewing a week of time. So many of you are non-exempt employees. You're eligible for overtime, so it means you have to have 40 hours in a week to receive overtime, or 40 hours in a week if you're exception paid, non-exempt, to receive your paycheck. And if you're an hourly employee, you may just want to see how many hours you worked in the previous week. So right up here, there's a calendar button. We select the calendar. We select the start date. So we'll select last week. We'll use the toggle buttons. We'll say January 23rd through the 27th. Your actual week starts on Saturday. So the 21st to the 22nd is the actual week. Once you select apply, you'll see that week come up. And you can see, well, we have some missing punches. So even if we scroll over here to the right and we look at our hour total, it's not accurate because we have missing punches. And those need to be corrected before we can see the actual week's total. On page 22, it talks about approve and removing approvals of your time card. So right now, we can go ahead and we can go to the previous pay period. We can review the entire thing. We look through it. We still see those missing punches. You can select approve time card, and you'll see that the time card goes tan. Now, is it accurate to approve a time card with missing punches in it and you don't know what the total is for the month? Not really. So you go ahead and you can select right underneath it, remove time card approval. You'll see right up here on the top, you get a little information bar. The card goes back to white. This happens on the current pay period most of the time. So if you're on current pay period, you thought you were on previous pay period, you select the approve button. You'll see once again it approves the time. Now you'll notice the bottom's grayed out. What does that mean? We can't punch in, we can't punch out. We have problems. It's just the beginning of the month and we don't want to approve that time. So once again, you'd come in here, you'd select remove time card approval. It takes the yellow out, and now we can approve time card, or we can punch in and punch out, and we'll approve this time card at the beginning of the next month. On page 24, it talks about printing a time card. This has gotten super simple. You can see the print time card button right here. Printing this current pay period probably isn't very helpful, but if you go to the previous pay period, or even if you wanted to print out a week, you could once again use your date selections, select apply, and you could print out that 1 week showing that you had missing punches. So you can show your supervisor. So once again, it brings up the print functions. You go ahead and select the print button. Make sure it's whichever printer you want it to go to, things like that. I'm not going to print this, so I'll go ahead and close it. But that's pretty much it. Those are your basic functions and features of the new WyTime 2.0 system. As always, I am your system administrator, Alan Nuss, and if you have any questions, problems, issues, please give me a call or send me an email. We do have a WyTime specific box. The email address is listed on page 4 of the, on page 5 of the manual. And I will always be available to answer your questions there. You can always give me a phone call at 777-5049, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Other than that, you guys have a great day here at the Department of Health.